The New York Jets lose a heartbreaker in Tampa Bay and are now 0-3 on the season. What was good in this game? What concerns we have going forward? And why the season could be on the line in Miami. All this and much more in our post-game breakdown here on Rich Sports Talk. And hello, everyone, and welcome to Rich Sports Talk, your home for all the latest and greatest on the New York Jets. It is a frustrating day for the New York Jets as this team, once again, it is another frustrating loss as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers end up winning this game. And there is a lot to talk about, how this game ended, the coaching, the overall themes from this game. We'll break it all down. Of course, you can jump in as well. Super chats dump to the front of the line if you want to make a donation to the channel. Also, if you're unable to join us for the live stream on YouTube, check us out wherever your podcasts are streaming. So I think it is important to break down this game from the beginning to the end. And I also will break down certain aspects of this game that I liked, certain things I did not like in this game. And most importantly, we will wrap up this show not only with your comments, but why the season could be on the line in Miami. So let's get this out of the way. There was a lot of things when we came into this season with Aaron Glenn that we wanted to see change. And for the first 3 games, there are concerning signs. I do like Aaron Glenn. I think Aaron Glenn has the potential to be a good head coach. And I know the expression Rome wasn't built in a day, but there are certain things in this game that really bothered me, and I think bother a lot of Jet fans. Tell me if you've heard this story before. And I'll do a general sweep, and we'll break this down individually. The Jets did not come out ready to play. The Jets came out slow. The Jets took a long time to make an adjustments. The Jets didn't look competitive for most of a football game. And despite that, in an incredible fourth quarter, the Jets couldn't execute to close out a game. And I think this is a good summary of this game was the first 2 drives of this game, one for the Jets and one for Tampa. The Jets are driving to start this game. They get the ball first, going down the field. They get the benefit of a horse collar tackle that, again, I didn't think was a terrible one on Tyrod Taylor. But they are driving down the field. And under 10 minutes, Arian Smith doesn't cover the tackle, and the Jets get an illegal formation on a play where the Jets get a first down. Now, this is a huge moment in the game because I thought the Jets were going to drive down and at least punch it in for 6, and instead they settle for a field goal. Yes, they get points on the opening drive, but it is disappointing and deflating on how that first drive ends. Then the second drive, the defense on the field. Let's get them off the field. First drive, Quidden starts it off with a 15-yard face mask. Then on 1st and 18, after the Buccaneers had 5 to 6 holding penalties on one drive in a game, 1st and 18, screen pass out to Bucky Irving. 8 Jets around him. They can't tackle him. Tampa Bay had 6 penalties on the first drive of this game. And that's the other thing. Tampa Bay, we talk about penalties, and yes, the Jets didn't lead this game in penalties. The Jets were not great with penalties, but there was a lot of penalties this game. 3rd and 29, brutal pass interference on Sauce. Yes, I understand. To the letter, I don't think it's a pass interference, but this defensive back room, they got to work on. They're not turning their heads. They're getting too handsy. They're playing through the hands. It's not something that you can do. And then Tampa Bay, they had opportunities too. The Jets had 2 choices on that drive to just take the 4th, let them kick a field goal. And instead they went for a 3rd and even longer, but the Bucs were either able to convert it or convert because of a penalty. I also thought one of the biggest moments in this game too was 9 minutes left in the second quarter. And I have been adamant that the Jets need to be an aggressive football team because, let's be frank, they're not a very good football team. 4th and 1. The Jets go for it on their side, and I'm excited about it. And I see the formation. I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a QB sneak. Instead, it's a halfback dive for Braylon Allen. And that just infuriated me for multiple reasons. Here was my thought what the play was going to be and what I think the Jets need to do going forward. If it's 4th and 1, quarterback sneak it and have Braylon Allen, who is your 230-something plus battering ram, come up behind the quarterback and bash him and push him forward with momentum. Or get Mason Taylor back there to push him forward for momentum. And this is the other thing I had not understood through 3 games. And I understand Tanner Engstrom is a rookie offensive coordinator. But if you were one of the teams, yes, you Jets, you were one of the teams that advocated to allow the tush push, to allow that to stay in the National Football League. My thought was, well, the Jets want the tush push because it enables them to do the tush push. And instead, the Jets, for whatever reason, like I felt like I was watching Adam Gase, like flashbacks to 2020 with Adam Gase doing a halfback dive in the middle, 4th and 1. Like, what happened to just a quarterback sneak? Like, I understand with Rodgers the last 2 years because he's 40-something years old. You don't want him to roll his ankle or get nicked up. But you have an athletic quarterback in Tyrod Taylor, and you saw the problem. They got a decent initial push, but everyone knows it's going to be up the middle. If you have your running back 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage, it gives the edges time to come and crash, and that's exactly what happened in this game. And the weird thing with this game, too, and I think it is a great observation for the season, I thought the defense played a lot better in this game. But here was the problem. When the defense was playing well in this game, the offense was not existent. And then when the offense started to go late in the game, the defense couldn't close this game for this team. And the other thing that really irked me with this staff is this. Another big play in this game was the Taylor pick six before the half. On that play, Garrett Wilson's got to work back to the football. That was a bad mistake for Garrett Wilson. You're getting paid top wide receiver money. You got to make that play. Was it an ill-advised throw by Taylor? Yes, but you know Taylor. He's going to push the ball down the field. But that was a huge momentum swing because then Tampa gets the ball back at the start of the third. They run basically 10 minutes off the clock and kick a field goal. And look, this was a team, like, you knew what they were going to do. You knew what Tampa was going to do. They were going to blitz. And under the duress was Tyrod Taylor, 62% of his dropbacks in the first half. Like, I'm amazed he was in the concussion protocol. It was the fourth highest pressure percentage in either first half per ESPN research. And once again, this defense cannot get off the field on 3rd and long, cannot get off the field on 3rd and long. And another key sequence, and again, this was in the third quarter where it looked like this was going to be a blowout. You're on the Bucs side of the field. Plenty of protection. The Jets offensive line finally setting down. They're finally adding help. They're finally settling in. And you have Tyler Johnson wide open, in stride. Tyrod Taylor can't put a better ball. It hits the turf. And then 4th and 12, we're running a play. We're going for our 4th and 12. And again, I don't hate the idea of going for it on 4th and down. What has aggravated me, and I think a lot of Jet fans for going for it on 4th down this season, is not the idea of going for it on 4th down. It has been the execution and the ideas of going for it on 4th. So we're going to run a play where we're only going to go 8 yards, but we need 12. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me how the Jets were doing this. Like, the play calling was maddening early, maddening in this game. And then Breece Hall didn't catch a pass to the fourth quarter. I've been saying this for the first couple games, and I've been saying it through the offseason. Breece Hall, to me, is your second best weapon in the passing game. I don't understand why he is not lining up in the slot, why he is not getting more involved in the passing game. Because to me, yes, he can hit a home run running the football, but you can see he's at best when he is in space. Why is he not getting the football? Now, there's some micro things I've seen. I'm like Arian Smith actually being treated like a wide receiver, even though they did another terrible gadget play with him. But look, this was a frustrating game. The Jets go down, they're out of this game. They score a touchdown, get the ball back, score another one on a 4th and goal touchdown to Allen Lazard of all people. And then this defense, not once but twice, kills this team. Now, again, ultimately, Will McDonald made the play of the game where he recovers and scores a touchdown. But I think a lot of us had this thought. I think a lot of us had the thought of, yes, it's great that Will McDonald scored that touchdown. It was an unbelievable play and probably will be his play, his highlight of the season potentially. Tell me if I'm wrong here. And let me know in the comments. I was almost of the opinion he needed to go down at the 5-yard line so that the Jets offense, and again, I know a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, but I was thinking there is too much time for Baker Mayfield. All they have to do is get into field goal range. In a weird way, I would have rather have tried to run the offense, use 2 or 3 plays, maybe even run on first down, have Tampa burn a timeout. But instead, Jets go up. Jets defense, who again, I thought shown better signs of communication this week and at least showed some signs of life. But again, big opportunity for this team. They were improving on defense. They had, I thought, for the most part, against a very good Buccaneers, a good afternoon. But they had an opportunity to shut the door. And I know the excuse to be, well, Sauce wasn't on the field. They had AZ Thomas. Well, AZ Thomas, and this is another thing too. I know it's a very small sample size, but AZ Thomas had a great pass breakup, and Bucca almost had an unbelievable catch on that. I'm watching AZ Thomas, and I'm watching his coverage, and I'm like, they think Brandon Stevens is better in coverage because Brandon Stevens looked absolutely horrendous against Mike Evans. I'm of the opinion I think Brandon Stevens should move back to safety. I liked what I saw from Malachi Moore this week, and some of the young kids even today. Muaga, the linebacker, I actually think played a pretty good game and actually adds an element to this team that they're missing, which is with Quincy and with Jamie Sherwood. They're not big run-stopping middle linebackers. And I thought he plugged up the holes pretty well today. And I actually want to see him get a little bit more playing time. I see AZ Thomas come in when Sauce gets hurt. And I thought AZ held his own pretty well. And I'm like, okay, he's showing flashes. Like, why is he not getting playing time? And look, we'll talk about the game in Miami in a little bit. Let's get to some of your comments. We'll check on the post-game conference. And look, this is just a mixed emotion for us because for 3 quarters, this was a team that was absolutely embarrassing. It was the same old Jets. It was just, we're wasting another Sunday. And then they come out and they don't. I'll give Aaron Glenn the staff credit. For 3 quarters, they were awful. But I'll give this team credit. They could have easily, and if you want to take anything from this game, and what sign of life I think is decent from this team. So many times in the past, this game, when they kicked that field goal 23-6, this team would have just flat out quit. I think we were all expecting this team to flat out quit. And to their credit, they battled back. They made it a football game. Even when they scored the first touchdown to get to 13 points, I'm like, okay. So it's not going to be as big of a blowout. It will be something we'll talk about on the podcast and saying, yeah, the score doesn't really dictate. But again, they get a stop. They score another touchdown. Okay, they're in this ball game. And then you have the Will McDonald block. You're like, okay. Like, this is the one thing I will take from this team. Like, they did not quit today. They fought through 4 quarters. Now, again, they did not play well for 4 quarters, which is a concern. They did not have a good game plan for 4 quarters. They did not adjust for 4 quarters. And if you are a team like the Jets who don't have the talent, you can't beat yourself. And once again, like we've seen through the first 3 games, this team has beat itself. But if you want to say anything positive coming out of this game, is that at least this team was able to put together an impressive 4th quarter. At least this team made it a game. And this is the thing we've talked about for this team. We want this team to be a team we're proud of. And for 3 quarters, I know as a Jet fan, you were not proud of this team just getting dog walked by Tampa for 3 quarters. They finished up this game strong. What you have to do now, and we'll get to it later, is take this momentum into Miami. Because to me, Miami is an incredibly big game coming up next week. And I will talk about that in a little bit. But let's get to some of your comments against Super Chat to jump to the front of the line. Your comments in here. Yeah, I would agree. Not as frustrating as watching the Mets lose. Yeah, that's a good comment. As bad as the Jets played, Will runs out on the first yard line. We caused the Bucs to lose 1 timeout and still score TD. That's what I was thinking in that situation. And again, if you're a defensive player, I understand, like in that moment you want to score, you're still down. I think in a perfect world, you would have had him get out the 1. But then it would have been one of those things too. Like you could see him getting out the 1, the Jets get 4 cracks, and then they'll get in the end zone. So it's one of those weird things where you could see so many scenarios where it doesn't work out. Dan from New York, how would you rank the biggest issue with this team right now, 1 through 5? So Dan, just for clarification, 1 being the worst, 5 being the least worst, I guess. And again, thank you, Chris. Please like and subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you, Chris. There's a lot of issues I have. And again, it's very difficult, I think, to get only 5. Okay, let me try to do my best. I think the biggest issue on this team, number one, is the lack of an identity. I still think this team is trying to find it. I think this team wants to be running the football. But again, they didn't try to run the football. And even when this team is down 10 points, I'm of the belief if they're going to play you that you have to pass down 10 points, which is what I think the Jets are running into in the middle of this game, I still think you got to be able to run the football, control the line of scrimmage. Yeah, you take time possession out of the game, but you control the clock. You're able to move the football and wear their defense down. I would also say my number 2 issue right now is coaching. And coaching, again, you have guys that are learning. Tanner Engstrom, I didn't think had a great game plan until he finally remembered, hey, we got to add protection and run crossers in the fourth quarter. I think the inconsistencies in the game plans and not coming out hard is an issue. Number 3, I think this is an issue I'll talk about later, is the players you're paying big money to are not performing at the level you're expecting. Number 4, I think you're getting inconsistent quarterback play, which we were all expected. And number 5, I think you're talent deficient in key areas. You don't have a number 2 receiver on this team. You don't have, great secondary, great safety play on this team. You have inefficient linebacking play. And look, you have guys that you brought in this offseason, which I get back to the paid. The guys are not playing up to their contract. And that's the biggest thing is like the biggest guys the Jets paid this offseason today had frustrating games. Yes, Garrett Wilson had a great game. Yes, Garrett Wilson had a touchdown. I thought Garrett Wilson was Garrett Wilson. But there was the key moment in this game to me was when Garrett Wilson doesn't work back to the football. He has to work back. If he's a rookie, okay, it happens. But we saw this in Pittsburgh last year too. He needs to learn to work back to the football, make that catch, or at the very least, let the ball hit the turf and not let it be a 6-point swing the other way. Sauce Gardner, again, I thought played a little bit better today. But again, if you're being paid the top paid corner in the league, didn't play well and left this game with a concussion. Jamie Sherwood, who they paid a ton of money to, I thought had a lackluster game. Brandon Stevens, who this team paid a lot of money to be their number 2 corner, again, for the 3rd week in a row. Tell me if this sounds like a broken record. Can't cover, can't tackle, is a liability. I tweeted this from the @RichSportsTalk handle. I said, you just knew that when Baker walked to the line and looked to his left and he saw Mike Evans on Brandon Stevens, he's like, this is a run game, but I'm going to eat right now because I know I'm going to throw this and Mike Evans is going to basically bully him and box him out. And that is exactly what happened on that play. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our latest content. Again, give us a follow on X @RichSportsTalk. Also going to see if some of the, and look, it's frustrating too because this Jets team, it felt so frustrated because you looked at the Jets and you're like, the block was one of the best plays you've seen in a long time. You saw how excited the sideline was. You saw how pumped up this team was. You saw how excited this fan base was. And then you just looked at the clock and you just groaned and you said, this game, it's going to be over. Like you just knew it was over. The only way I looked at this was if they somehow were able to get out of bounds, or I kind of was hoping McDonald would get tackled because part of me was thinking, at least in that situation, if the Jets run a couple plays and run time off the clock, they might have a chance. But I looked at that situation and went, a minute 30, 2 timeouts, they're gonna get in field goal range. They're gonna get in field goal range because again, you're without Sauce, you're without Quincy at this point. You just looked at this defense and you just look at this Buccaneers team and you're like, they got Baker Mayfield. He's gonna figure out, and this is the problem. And Aaron Glenn wants to change the perspective of this organization. Here's a very easy way to change it, Aaron. If you want to change the perspective of this fan base very quickly. And again, I think that there are some nice things in this game, but every Jet fan knew that game was going to end with a field goal. Every Jet fan knew that Baker Mayfield was going to go down the field and score. And if your team had come out in that situation and somehow got Baker Mayfield off the field or created a turnover, or forced a fumble and fall on it, because God knows we've seen the Jets. They, once again this week, force a fumble, can never fall on it. Then the next drive, of course, Tyrod Taylor fumbles, and Tampa Bay could easily fall on it. If you want to change the perspective, Aaron Glenn, you got to make things where we go, okay, this is going to happen, not happen. It was very easy, and this was a great opportunity for this defense. And I'm going to say it too. Did I see this defense improve this week? Yes, but still not good enough. This defense shouldn't be up close to 30 points. And again, I understand 7 of the points came on the pick 6, but this defense, when they needed to, and you want to be a quote-unquote great defense in this league, you got to close out games. And again, we've seen this so many times, and even with the great defenses with this Jet organization, how many times, even when this team's been a top 5 defense, have we seen them? The offense gets the go-ahead score, and the Jets need to put away the game, and they're not able to do it. So if you want to change the perspective, Aaron Glenn, you got to close out that game. You have an unbelievable play by Will McDonald, and you wasted. And yes, you had the lead. Yes, you had great energy. Yes, it was an unbelievable play by Will McDonald. It's one of the best plays I've ever seen from a Jets defensive player. It is so exciting. But you look at this too, and a lot of us are done with the moral victories. Like, if you want to do the moral victory parade, yeah, they're 2-1, but they couldn't close out the Steeler game. They had an opportunity to go out there and basically change the way this franchise was viewed. They had a great opportunity, and this leads to an uncomfortable conversation, and I'll flat out say it here. If this defense continues to struggle like this, Steve Wilkes, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to have the conversation because, again, this defense is just leaving guys out to dry. And I'll tell you this, I saw very few snaps, but I was already going, you know what? A.Z. Thomas looks a hell of a lot better in coverage than Brandon Stevens. Why is Brandon Stevens still out there? All right, let's get some more questions. Again, super chats, jump the front line, like and support the channel. This really hurt, but I knew they weren't going to pull this one off. Hey, it's the Jets. 100% Baker will move the ball down the field to kick a wing. You knew it. Like, the only way that would have been more of a dagger is if somehow Baker Mayfield got sacked. It's a 65-yard field goal, and you would just know that would just be banged in. Like, you just saw it in the script. Like, it was 15 seconds of euphoria with Will McDonald. And I hate being like this as a Jet fan, but unfortunately, until things change, we're just going to have this mindset of, oh, they're going to kick a field goal. Oh, yeah, they're going to kick a field goal. They had a great return off the kick return. I think they got to, 35 for Tampa. And you're just like, okay, Baker's just got to go. And then he rolls out and scrambles. And Baker's he's an athlete, but he's not a huge runner. And unfortunately, the Jets could not contain. Some comments from Aaron Glenn. God, this better not be freaking, moral victories. We've got to get better. I know that we will get better, but I like exactly the way our guys fought. I'm okay with that fourth quarter. On Tyrod Taylor, just like a quarterback, once those guys get into a rhythm, start to see the game a lot quicker, things really slow down. Also, Aaron Glenn, we're not the same type of team as everyone says. Same old Jets. There's no give up in them. Well, the problem, though, is this, Aaron. The problem is this team didn't show up for 3 quarters. The problem for this team is it's the same old Jets when they get a lead and they can't close it at the end of the game. And I hate that term. It's a thing that if you hear that term as a Jet fan, it cuts you like a knife. But I'm sorry, your team and your defense could not close this game out. Your team looked woefully prepared for 3 quarters. Your team still committed a ton of dumb penalties. Michael Clemens, who we all keep saying should not be on this football team, is still out there. And I feel he got the majority of the snaps at defensive end today. And I'm sorry, again, he had another 15-yard foul. I'm like, of course. You just know what's going to happen. Like, I am so sick of it. And I kept saying, play Harrison Phillips on the outside. Keep putting Juwan Briggs in there, who had another impactful plays today. Like, I am sick and tired of seeing Michael Clemens out there not doing anything. Like, the thing with Michael Clemens is you just don't want him to do something incredibly stupid. You don't even care if he gives up a gain or anything. You just don't want him to do anything incredibly stupid, which is not a good sign for a football player. It just is not. Aaron Glenn, the one thing I don't do, which I understand your media tries to do, is the negative parts of it. I'm not going to be that way. I'm going to let you guys deal with that. We're going to look at the things we did well. Okay. Well, then you got to build off of it because, look, the problem is you still don't have a win. And to be honest, If you were to be honest with me, and when we got the schedule came out and you saw the first 3 games, many of us thought, including myself, that this would be an 0-3 start. And again, I know Jet fans are pissed about an 0-3 start, but if you were honest with yourself, when that schedule came out, how many of you looked at the schedule like, you know what? Jets are not going to win the first 3. And I've even said on this channel, my goal for the Jets is to be 1-3 by the end of the first quarter of the season, and they have to do that in Miami, and I will explain why in a little bit. And I'll do a full preview for that on Friday as well, but I'll talk to you more detail. But the thing I look at with this game is there's a lot of nice things in the fourth quarter, but the Jets also had chances to get up in this game. If they don't throw a pick 6 before the half, this game is a closer game. If it takes them less than 3 quarters to figure out, you know what, Tampa Bay likes to blitz a lot. Maybe we should do more max protection, get the ball quickly, do crossing routes in front of the face of Tyrod Taylor. That might be a smart idea to get this going. If on 4th and 1 in the first half, I liked the idea, but the play call was trash. Run a freaking tush push. How many times on this channel am I going to have to say run a tush push or a QB sneak? Last year, Aaron Rodgers, okay, I get it. He's a 40-something-year-old quarterback who has a lower body and Achilles issue. You don't want to aggravate that. But you have Tyrod Taylor. You have Braylon Allen. You have Mason Taylor. Can one of those big bodies get behind the quarterback and freaking just push him a yard, push him 3 feet? You see the Eagles do this all this time, and the Jets, ironically, are one of the teams that said, we want the tush push in the league. You want the tush push? Great. Freaking use it. You voted for this to be used, and you're not using it. It's like saying, we want it so we can have steak on the menu at our restaurant. And you're like, we want this so bad. And then it's like, you get to the restaurant, do you want steak? We'll do like some chicken tenders or something. You wanted this on the menu, and you're ignoring it. Come on. Fire Wilkes. Look, if this continues, I don't see how he's going to be here long term. I really don't. We're 0-3 because the coaching staff and a bad defense, but we're in 2 out of the 3 games so far. There's also a problem with Tippmann playing right guard where they're blitzing right up the middle. Milk, I really like the point, so let me break down this section by section. Again, Super Chat Joe in the front of the line. I'll get to more of your comments in a second, then we'll break down more of this game, some more of the post-game quotes. I would say yes, the coaching and the defense is a big part of it. Again, I also don't think the Steelers are that good of a football team now that we're looking in retrospect as well. To me, it's when they're blitzing Tippmann, I think a lot of it's Myers not getting it. I think a lot of Myers is being exposed. I don't think Tippmann has been a huge issue at guard, but again, this offensive line did struggle. And look, again, I left Kuwait with the play on the title. But I'd like the idea. I know Fashion had a really bad game, but I think the main problem on the O-line is Tippmann, just like Sherwood is a horror show on D. I don't think he's a horror show. I think Myers has struggled. And again, you have to understand, too, when a team is blitzing this much and the Jets don't really even have tight ends on the line to even chip a little bit, it's like they have Isaiah Davis. And again, Isaiah Davis is a pretty good pass pro back, but you saw his first instinct is to take the guy up the middle. And again, the Buccaneers were getting off the edge. Sometimes when you're blitzing 7 guys, you only have 5 guys to block. That's 2 guys uncovered. You have to figure out, okay, can you chip one of them? Can you have a back come in? It was frustrating. And again, the Jets eventually figured it out and were able to execute. But man, at the time it was happening, it was frustrating. And look, I like the Sherwood comment too, because that's the other problem. The Jets gave Sauce Gardner great money. He hasn't played like that. You gave Garrett a lot of money. And look, Garrett's been better, but Garrett also had a critical error in this game that led to 6 points for Tampa. You gave Jamie and Sherwood a ton of money. He has been almost invisible out there. You gave Brandon Stevens a ton of money. He has been an abject disaster. Yeah, I'm amazed by that too. But the other thing that really intrigued me on this, and again, speaking of Garrett Wilson, the postgame, he could have been more aggressive on the picks. He should have tried to do more to help his QB. Again, it's one of those things, the first time I get it, but he also did this against Pittsburgh last year. He's really got to iron that out. Aaron Glenn says no moral victories, but stresses the positives. Says the media will focus on the negative, but insist that look, again, take the positive from the game plan, but again, you got to get wins. You got to get wins. And look, for 3 quarters, this offense was bad. They were horrible. And you also wonder, too, in this game when they were coming back, should they have gone for 2 more? Like, they got the 2 field goals, but if they were able to get 8 and 8, all of a sudden it's a 3-point swing, and now that Tampa hits the field goal, it's a tie game. And the other thing, too, that really bothered me in this game was the defensive line. Yes, they had flashes, but 1 sack against this O-shift line. Now, again, I think a lot of the sacks were slightly negated because Tampa had so many holding calls because the Jets are just getting around them. But the fact of this, and I talked about in the preview, like this was a patchwork offensive line, and the Jets weren't able to do anything. Other key things from this game, the running game, Braylon Allen got it going, especially late. 6 carries for 30 yards, 5 on the ground. Again, the Jets, between the running backs, only 15 carries. They're not going to win like that. The Jets running backs have that 25, 30 carries. Even if the running game isn't getting going, they need to lean on that run game. Mason Taylor, 4 catches for the first time in his career, 18 yards. Aaron Smith, 2 catches for 1 yard. He got backed up on the other route. Brandon Stevens led in tackles because, again, he got some get by him. Quincy Williams with a half a sack in this game. Jets, of course, not doing great. I mean, McNamara, again, great game punting. 48.5 net. I thought he played very well. But, I mean, let's just look at the team stats again. Comments, super chat, jump at the front of the line. Jets, again, 7 penalties, 81 yards. Bucs had 124-yard penalties, 124, and the Jets couldn't take advantage. Jets allowed 4 sacks in this game. Jets were 4 of 12 on third down. Buccaneers are 4 of 13. I don't know why. It felt like it was like half of them. Like, it just feels like this Jet team can never get off the freaking field on third down. Jets 1 of 3 on fourth down. Total yards for the Jets, 267. Only 99 rushing yards on the ground. 168 passing yards. Jets didn't win the time of possession, 27-44 to the Bucs, 32-16. Jets also fumble, interception. Again, they need to win the turnover battle. This defense and this coaching staff, which worries me, is the Jets still haven't forced a turnover. The turnover by McDonald, like that to me isn't a defense. That's a special teams play because that's designed. And you made the best case of the best coaching is the special teams on this team. I mean, the special teams has been great this year for the Jets so far. Really has turned into a strength. But this was just one of those teams. It was just such a frustrating game for this team because you saw so many opportunities. And look, if you're a great team, you can make mistakes and you can overcome with talent. But when you are a team that is not a great football team, this is just frustrating to me. Look, it's just frustrating. I know some people are looking at the clapping after the loss. Like, again, I just think Aaron Glenn was just like, I don't really look at that. But again, this is another back-to-back game. Jets 29 points in the first 3 games of the season. Like, I would be very interested with Steve Wilks. Now, again, it was a little better this week, but if they have another bad 30 burger next week, I think you have to start having those serious thoughts with Steve Wilks. Quinn Williams, this season's about to start run. It's been run. I don't want to look up and be 0-10, so the Jets need to make proper corrections so they can be the team he knows they're capable of being. We have a lot of games to go. You can build on this for Aaron Glenn. Look, this is something I look at this team. And again, Aaron Glenn, this is not an instant coffee. Stop using that freaking line. Like, again, stop with the Salah-isms. Like, can someone in the Jets building stop Aaron Glenn for using Salah-isms, please? And again, he keeps saying these guys are not the same as Jets teams of recent years. These guys are going to fight no matter what. But guess what? Jet fans, like, we look, yeah, they fought in the fourth quarter, but you know what they didn't do for the first 3? They didn't freaking fight for the first 3 quarters. They did not fight for the first 3 quarters of this game. Yeah, another winnable game, Tony. I agree. Sorry about that. Just a lot of anger and frustration just has me yelling, so I just got to get a little water in there. If they would have went for 2 and got the Bucs, it would have been a scored time. They would have to score 10. Yeah, you're right. You're right. They And I think Wilkes has been bad. And Tony, again, that's the other thing. Like, you don't want to be doing these mock drafts yet, but unfortunately, the way the season is going, I think we're going to be getting that way too. Um, yeah, I thought AZ Thomas played well, Tony. And again, I think he should be playing over Stevens. Here's my thought too. And again, I see a lot of the defensive comments. Like, I have a couple of thoughts on this roster, and then I'll talk about Miami and why I think it's such a pivotal role in this season. I saw this team play with a lot of these rookies today. And look, I think Malachi Moore had an amazing game. No, but I like things I saw from him. I thought Muaga at middle linebacker was good against the run, which this team has really struggled with, especially with Quincy and Sherwood. And again, AZ Thomas, I thought flashed in. I'm at the point now, I'm like, play the kids. If I'm going to have to sit through this, I want to see these kids take their lumps and at least show me something. I mean, AZ Thomas had a great coverage on Ibuka, where with Brandon Stevens, it's like every time I throw to him, I'm just like, can the receiver drop the ball? Because I know Stevens is either not going to tackle him, he's going to create a pass interference, or it's going to be a catch. So I'm at the point I want to see AZ Thomas. I'm done with Tony Adams. I want to see Malachi Moore play. And look, Arian Smith, and I think they started to do it today. They let him play wide receiver. They let Mason Taylor play tight end. And you got to get these guys more involved because they're the keys to your future, and play them. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to play these kids. What do you have to lose? You're an 0-3 football team. I'd rather see Arian Smith get routes. And again, I'm seeing some nice little flashes from him. The problem was, the big thing I think that killed him is they try another gadget play. Stop with the gadget plays. Like, make him be a real receiver out there. And the other thing that frustrated me too, and I tweeted this in the pregame, was they had Jelani Woods activated. They had 4 tight ends. I'm like, wow. I was saying in the last episode, have Smart play, stand up on the outside, have Mason Taylor be a big wide receiver. Like, I know Alan Lazard had an incredible catch. Alan Lazard either has an incredible catch or an incredible drop. I did not have Alan Lazard touchdown on my bulletin board today. So again, I'm amazed that even happened. But I was thinking, okay, they're going to line up with Woods outside. They're not using their tight ends creatively, which I think they really need to do as well. But here's why I think this coaching staff has a key game in Miami on Monday night. Because let's be honest, as frustrated and pissed off we are as Jet fans, I think many of us knew this would be a reality. If I was to pull you before the question, if you were really honest with me, like let's say I gave you a little bit of liquid courage, and I said, be honest with me. Do you think the Jets are going to start 0-3? I think most of you would be like, I really don't want to, but yeah. Tampa Bay, where it's going to be 100 degrees on the road against Baker Mayfield, playoff team, that's going to be tough. Josh Allen at home, that's going to be tough. Aaron Rodgers, revenge game, Steelers a playoff team. I mean, let's face it, the Jets played 3 playoff teams, one of which we think is a Super Bowl favorite. Tampa Bay can maybe be a dark horse in the NFC. And you have, the Steelers. So again, I don't think are that great of a team, but they were a playoff team last year. Here is why this Miami game is crucial to me. Because you can make the case in these first 3 games that you are going against great coaches. You were going against Mike Tomlin. You were going against the Bills. You're going against Todd Bowles. And look, Todd Bowles has become a good head coach in this league. You were going against 3 coaches. I'm like, okay, on paper, they should be better than you in this point in your career. Aaron Glenn is going into Miami against Mike McDaniel. And Mike McDaniel is on the thinnest ice I've ever seen. I mean, they had a players-only meeting after week 1. Things are unraveling in Miami fast. Things are collapsing in Miami incredibly fast. It is looking ugly. This is the game to me that is going to define the Jets' 2025 season. And I know it is early in this season, but there's a lot of reasons for this early. Number one, I think that this is a team that the Jets on paper should be better. I think that this is a team, whether it's Justin Fields or Tyrod Taylor, should have at least a decent offensive game. I don't think the Dolphins have a good defense. They do not have a good offensive line. This is a game that you need to go in there. And if you want to go in there and break their will, you want to talk about not being the same old Jets. You want to talk about establishing your culture in this division. Go and win an AFC East game. Go win an AFC East game on the road against one of your rivals, against a rival that they're staggering right now. they are basically grasping at straws. Like many people thought that the Bills' effort, the game they put against the Bills, was the last gasp to try to prove McDaniel. McDaniel on the podium has just been weird. And it's just been like this team just doesn't have any fight left. And they've been called out by former players. Like this to me is a defining game. If the Jets can go in and come out of Miami at 1-3 with a win against an AFC East opponent and come back out of the first quarter of the season with a win. And yes, I know Dallas will be tough. Yes, I know Denver will be tough. But if you were to look at this realistically and be 1-3, I would be like, okay, there's something to build off of here. Here is the problem. And again, I see McDaniel and all this. Look, I don't think they're that great of a team, but I would be shocked against, I get why you guys are feeling this way going into it, and I completely understand it. But if you want to prove something for the staff, you go into Miami and you beat them. And here's another key reason why you have to win this game. Because if you are 0-4, this fan base is going to check out. They are. They're going to be watching college football. They're going to be watching the draft. You get 1-3, it's going to be tough. But maybe this fan base is just going to be like, you know what? Lost season. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste my money. I'm not going to waste my energy on this football team. I'll be here every week. But this will be a team that's like, okay, just get us to the offseason, get us to the draft. We're done. 0-4, the season's over. And even if the Jets do nice things in the second half of the season, or if they are building something in the second half, fans aren't going to care. Fans are going to see that. They're just going to see the record and be like, this team sucks. This coaching staff sucks. Let's just get rid of everyone. The other thing, too, is Aaron Glenn, like you want to build off of this last quarter, go into Miami and do a great offensive performance. Finally lock down this defense. Because Miami, we know, can score. Go out and prove what you can do with this defense. Because here's the thing. Jet fans, one of the biggest pet peeves Jet fans have is prime time. Because prime time has been insufferable for us as a fan base the last 15 years, but most specifically the last 15. If I was to ask a Jet fan, what is your favorite prime time moment or the best prime time moment in the last 15 years? And I want you to do it right now. Think very hard. In the last 15 years, what has been the best prime time moments? A lot of you are thinking, damn, this is hard. I can't think of one. You know what's the only one that comes to mind? Sam Darnold's debut in Detroit, where they won that game. And you felt like, okay, maybe the Jets have something here. Now, if I was to ask the flip side, what are your horror moments from prime time? And probably 5 come to mind right off the bat. Aaron Rodgers in the tunnel, then tearing his Achilles. The Sam Darnold, I'm seeing ghost games. Zach Wilson against the Jaguars imploding into his career and the Jets losing on the playoffs that season. I could just keep going down the list. The various times Bill Belichick was trolling the Jets on primetime football, the Chiefs getting away with the unbelievable, horrible calls and marching down the field to win the game against the Jets. You just go through moment after moment after moment after moment of bad prime time. And again, you look since 2015, I looked this up. The Jets have played 27 primetime games. So that includes Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, and the London games, ironically enough. What do you think their Jets' record is in prime time since 2015, the last 10 years? 27 games. I'll give you a chance. What do you think? Let me know in the chat. Any guesses? What the record is? I'll give you a hint. It's not 0-27, but it's not good. It's 8-19. 11 games under 500 on prime time. And primetime is painful because you know what happens the next day on national media. The Jets are a joke. They're a punching bag. They're the same old Jets. If you want to really change this fan base's perspective, Aaron Glenn, because you really only have 3 primetime games. I say 2.5 because I don't think the London game in the morning is a primetime game. You have 2 primetime games, and none of them are in your building. Might I remind you, you have the Patriots later this year at Thursday Night Football, but at that point, depending on your record, how many Jet fans are watching, this really is like a last grasp. If you go and beat Miami on Monday Night Football in prime time, dropping them to 0-4, you have a game up in the division. Then I think this fan base could be like, okay, there's something to build off. If you go 0-4 and you lose to Miami and you're dead last because you're going to be 0-2 in this division, they're going to say like, okay, we're going to fast forward to the end of the season. We'll check in, but we're out for this season. That's why this Miami game coming up is so crucial. Because if the Jets win that game, at least there's something. And again, until you get that first win, there's always this surmounting pressure in the NFL. 0-1 is rough. 0-2 is rough. 0-3 is rough. And let's be honest, like the Jets are not making the playoffs if they go 0-3. They're likely not at 0-3, but 0-4, forget it. Because they're not going to go and be 9-4 down the stretch. You want this team to get to 9 wins to have a shot. If you're 1-3, it's a long shot. But you're thinking, okay, if you're 1-3, could the Jets realistically go 8-4 somehow down the stretch? It's a stretch, but it seems more likely than getting 9 wins. And this, to me, is one of the few opportunities where I look at the Jets and I go, okay, this is an opportunity where you can really make a strong impression in prime time in front of the nation. If you are Aaron Glenn and you go into the house, into that building, and again, I feel bad for just social media because they just are they're just getting obliterated right now with some of the posts. But you know, this defense has to be better. They need to make a statement next week. And I don't know if Justin Fields is going to be ready. In a weird way, I like Tyrod a little bit better because I know what I'm getting in the passing game. But this team also needs to get back to their identity. Even if it's not working early, run the football. Play time and possession. I feel the last 2 weeks they've gone away from it. And this is the other thing, too. Even if this team is behind, they still should be running the football. They do not have the pass catchers or the talent right now to get into shootouts. Like when I saw this Jet team start really throwing the football and this pass rush was getting home, like, can you throw a screen pass in there? Can you throw an out pass somewhere? Can you just get a quick slant across the middle? Like the play calling was just brutal. And look, I give Engstrom a little bit of leash just because he is a first-time play caller. And yes, I do think some of the concepts are working, but I do think you have to give him some time. Wilkes, I don't give the benefit of the doubt. He's been a long-time DC and a head coach, and some of the coverages are horrendous out there. And you look like – and the other thing, too, is I look at progression regression. I think Sauce is not looking great under Steve Wilkes. I don't think Brandon Stevens looks good. This is a huge problem, and you have to run the football for this team to be successful. And unfortunately, they are not doing that, and they are not committing to it. I wouldn't say – I'd say so. He had one catch, man. It was one catch, and let's be fair, that was a really borderline catch, if we're really honest. So I don't know if I'd be, like, ranting and raving about Alan Lazard, but, I mean, I'm just amazed he's still on this team, dude. I thought he would be out of here a long time ago. I really did. So – of course, if you want to do Tankathon, the Jets have the number 1 pick if the season ended today. So again, I think that this is a lot of guys. And look, I get Jets' frustration because there are 2 views from Jet fans, and I get it. I think there are Jet fans that understand that this is a new regime and this is a reset. But the problem is when this team has been bad for 15 years and you see hallmarks of the previous regimes, that's why I think this fan base is upset. Because if this team had come out with their hair on fire in the first couple of quarters, look, even if this team was being a little bit dirty, if they were just nasty, if they were running the football, they were pounding away with the offensive line, I think this fan base would feel a lot better. But instead, we're sitting here going, okay, slow start, bad coaching, not making adjustments too late, letting the big plays and big moments. It just, there's so many hallmarks in the previous regimes, and it's hard to put that all on Aaron Glenn, but this was frustrating. Again, super chat to jump to the front line. Your thoughts and questions here. I thought Quincy had a great game. And again, if you see any updates on the injuries, I'm constantly refreshing on Twitter right now to see if there's any updates on here as well. And I think the biggest concern for me is this. People are going to say the offense struggled. Look, the offense had its moments, but I do think I see some progress from this offense. But you look to, it's a gut punch when this defense can't close out this game. But here's the biggest problem I had. This defense is not getting better. Let's call it what it is. The Jets allowed, if you want to take away the touchdown, 22 points. Sorry, just throat's a little bit raw from all the yelling I was doing with the Jets. The defense isn't getting better. The Bucs, let's be frank, they were missing 3 or 5 stars on that offensive line. They didn't have Godwin. Ibuka was half there, basically. And Evans missed the last quarter. They had to dominate. And the other thing, too, is Tampa Bay killed themselves. They had 124 yards of penalty. 124. But you look at the warts right now of this team, and if Will McDonald doesn't make an incredible play and they bang that field goal, do you really feel like the Jets would go down and score in the next 2 possessions or get an onside kick? No. It's something, too, where you looked at with Quincy. Quincy himself has been struggling, but when he was not on the field today, it was not good. And now we're starting to look for the Jets' injury bugs. Now Sauce is in the concussion protocol. The one silver lining, I guess, in all of this is they have an extra day of rest. Yeah, Jesus, the Jets are making me lose my voice. And Garrett Wilson on the loss today. It's tough. You feel like you climb out, getting back to a lead. We knew we were up against the wall to get that stop, and Will made a hell of a play. Again, and now, of course, the Reds win, so the Mets are out of the playoffs as of today with 6 to go. Great day for Mets and Jets fans. Great freaking day. And look, this was not as bad as last week, in my opinion, but this is another – at least this wasn't like a blowout. But I look at this defense, too. And part of this you wonder, too, and again, Darren Muji, I think, has done some nice things. It's still a lot to turn this program around in 1 year. But they don't have the horses. And again, I think part of the problem, too, is this coaching staff, especially on the defensive side, is coaching like they have the players. You know, Baker killed Clemens on the contain. McGregor missed a tackle. And these are not like NFL players. And unfortunately, the Jets and Wilkes are putting, especially on the defense, these guys on an island. Brandon Stevens is not a good player, but let's put him one-on-one on Mike Evans. We know Michael Clemens is not a good football player, but let's put him on the edge to try to tackle Baker Mayfield. You knew that was going to happen. And the other thing, too, is this defense, they don't force turnovers. They have 0 turnovers in 3 games. That's hard to do in the NFL, not force a turnover. This is a team that I understand that the schedule gets easier, but they just need to win football games. They need to win football games, and I'm also at this point, too. You hope Jermaine Johnson's back next week. That will be a huge plus. But here's the way I look at it, too. And again, comment, super chat, jump the front line. Love to hear your thoughts on certain players. But I just look at this, too. And some of the players on this team, and this is what also concerns me about Wilkes, is I understand they're rookies. And I understand you don't want them to get exposed. But I just look at this and I go, okay. Now, let's get to some of your questions, and I'll elaborate a little bit more. And I bet the page I didn't even look at better. So here's the thing with this Kuwait. I also thought that they did some more 3-4 fronts. They actually start off the game with 3-4 front. And again, with Harrison Phillips, Juwan Briggs, I think it could work. But the problem, I think, with this 3-4 scheme would be, okay, do you have Jermaine stand up? Do you have Will stand up? Fine. I also thought this team was shifting to more of a 3-4 front, to be honest with you. The question now becomes, do you have the backers in the middle? And it feels like they are not confident in Sherwood or Quincy right now to be the mills in this defense. Now, the other thing I would look at, too, is especially if Quincy's out for an extended period of time and you have to put Mwaga out there, I think you could help protect Mwaga by putting him as a big linebacker in a 3-4 with the smaller back with Jamie and Sherwood. You have McDonald line up on the stand-up edge. You have Jermaine stand up on the outside edge. To me, I think that they should get more playing time. And I also think in that scheme with Tony, you could have Leonard Taylor III play defensive end. That was one thing that pissed me off in this game. I said it on Friday. I said I would be playing Leonard Taylor the third defensive end on early downs instead of Michael Clemens. Yes, I understand he's not a great interior run defender, but give him a try because he's 308 pounds. Can he set the edge? And can he give you a little pass rush off the edge? Can you give him that burst? Because I see that he can get up the field. Put him at defensive end. At least with Leonard Taylor III, I see a future past 2025 this team. Michael Clemens, I don't see a future. As soon as this team can find a body better, they're going to get rid of it. Again, thank you for the like, Kuwait. Hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of our latest comments. Again, Kuwait with a really good point there as well. Yeah, and the 3-4, which you're mentioning, Kuwait, it allows you to be more diverse with your blitz packages, and I think it would benefit Quincy or Sherwood. I think they're better blitzers than coverbacks, using them as disguises. I want to see more of that front. And again, you have bigger defensive linemen now that could fit the scheme. The one caveat to the 3-4 is Quinnen, which is Quinnen is their best defensive lineman. And the one thing I'm wondering with this coaching staff is, are they afraid to go to the 3-4 because it's basically going to impact the effectiveness of Quinnen? Because Quinnen has said he doesn't like the double teams. He got double teamed a lot last year because of the play, the lack of D tackle next to him. When you make him a nose, you're going to basically have him get a double team. Now, the one thing I would say with that is if you're playing more 3-4, I actually would kick Quinnen out to the defensive end, put Jawan Briggs or Harrison Phillips in the middle. And here's the frustrating thing, which I think you guys are making great points. This is why I love the community on this channel. Again, like and subscribe so we get more great Jet fans in here. We are not football people, let's be frank. But if we are coming up with ideas of how to improve this defense that makes sense to us and we're not seeing the team do it, you go, okay. Now, look, maybe for the first 2 or 3 games, Aaron Glenn didn't want to break glass in case of emergency. Maybe Aaron Glenn is just trying to make it work. But after 3 games, I think it's clear you need something to change. You need something to change. And there's certain players I want to see the upside. If the players with the upside screw up, I think this fan base will be a little bit more lenient because at least we see a path forward with them. If Leonard Taylor misses a contain on defensive end, yeah, it'd be frustrating, but he adds more pass rush and he has a role potentially past the season. I don't see a world where Michael Clemens is on this team next year. I don't see a world where Tony Adams is on this team. And I thought Malachi Moore at least showed, while he didn't flash, he looks solid as a safety. I would start him the rest of the season. He's a building block for this team. A.Z. Thomas, I thought, is a building block for this team. If you want, put Brandon Stevens at safety. I am sick and tired of seeing him at corner. There's certain players too. If it really came down, I'd rather see Quantez Stiggers play safety. I mean, he's been unbelievable as a gunner on special teams, and at least he's making plays out there. I just look at certain guys on this team, and I'm like, are they going to be here long term? And why are we catering to them if they're not good players? So, but I get where you're coming from with the 3-4. I think it's a good idea. Just trying to see it. Apparently, they interviewed Sauce. I'm just trying to see if and here's the thing too. And I think this is a good. I think this is a good thing too. I know Aaron Glenn's talking about the effort of this team, but the problem is, yeah, we can laud this team for the effort that they had with the fourth quarter. But the problem too is we're looking around and I'm just saying, we're just looking around this league and going, okay, this team is not a good, well-coached team. And again, you kind of have to give a little bit of leeway for first-time head coaches. But you want to see flashes. And also from this front office, you want to see little things where you can build off of them, like little building blocks, little things. Again, going with the Lego reference there. And it seems Sauce has passed the concussion protocol, so that is some good news going forward. But the thing I look at with this team, and I evaluate around the league, and I understand you had Tyrod Taylor, but you wanted Justin Fields to be this team's quarterback. And you did not draft a quarterback. But then I see guys like Marcus Mariota today looking unbelievable for the Commanders. And again, Commanders have a great team, but I'm just looking around at some of the way this roster's built, and I understand the excuses. Well, you can't build it all off one season, and I can understand that. But the lack of a wide receiver, too, which we knew was going to be a problem, has been a problem. We knew the lack of depth on the defensive line would be a problem. It has been a problem. Like every problem, like we've pointed out, has become an issue. And I think what's frustrating as a fan base and as someone that watches this team is like, if we see the problems and we know the problems, and the staff just seemingly ignores it or tells us that they know better, and those problems continue to rear their ugly head, we're like, really? Really? Yeah, Glenn looked good after the field goal, but not at the end of the game. I'll tell you that, Tony. And look, I still think there's a lot of things I like with Glenn, but the big thing is he's got to get a win next week. When you get a win, it takes so much pressure off your team because when you see that 0 in that win column, it just drags the fan base down. It is just incredibly frustrating. And I understand that this is a transition year. I'm not going to fully kill Glenn because, look, you're basically taking over Saleh and Douglas's team. There's a lot of pieces on this team that are still you're trying to turn over, and it's very difficult in one off season. But I would also say this. You're evaluating the players on who's going to be on this team building this program forward. And there should be some difficult decisions, especially with the way this season is going. There are guys I would be looking to move at this deadline to get pieces. I think Allen Lazard's an obvious one to a certain team in Pittsburgh. I mean, I know Breece Hall will be mentioned again. I want to see what he can do down the stretch. And it also comes down to what this team feels his long-term evaluation on this team is. But I also want to see what they're going to do with some of these players because as much as I know Quinnen loves Quincy being here, if he's not a good fit for this defense, could he be a piece that is moved? And I know this is a thought that many Jet fans will roll their eyes at when I say this, but we know how much Robert Saleh loves Quincy. If the 49ers come to you and offer you a day 2 pick for Quincy, like if they give you a round 3, maybe that's a little generous, but even a round 4 pick for Quincy, and you know you're not going to re-sign him, I would really heavily consider that. And the other thing too is you have to make tough decisions on who's going to be here long term. Like I understand Michael Clemens, like you keep throwing out there, but if Jay Tufele is back next week, play more 3-4, play more Quinnen on the edge, put more of these defensive tackles in this game because you don't have the horses, especially at the linebacking position, to really make a difference. And look, if these young kids are just a step away from these veterans, I'd play the young kids. A.Z. Thomas is a part of your future. And I know many will argue Brandon Stevens is because of the contract. It's really a 2-year deal, and you can move him to safety. But I don't know if Tony Adams is a part of the future. I don't know if certain players are a part of this future. And if you feel like they're close, I'd play them. I didn't think Moaga would play today, but he played as a linebacker. I thought he was actually pretty good in the run defense. So you have to, if there's guys on the, again, 3 tackles for Moaga this game, if they're close, I'd play them. Yeah, that's the thing too. I think we're at the early stages where Glenn is just trying to get everything settled. But if he's going to be the head coach of this team and you continue to see this defense lose out, you got to make changes. And look, I like the 3-4. I think eventually maybe this will become a 3-4 team, but they just don't think they have the personnel to do it. And they're kind of in this weird hybrid. Yeah, we want to be a 3-4 team, but we don't have the players to be 3-4. We're making that transition. And again, if you're also the Jets too in this front office, again, new comments come in, super chat, jump to the front line. I'll get to you in a sec. If you want to make changes, like you can't just sit there. And one of the things I lauded Darren Mucci was for getting these defensive tackles. I think Phillips and Briggs have been great additions. But if you feel there's a linebacker out there that's an improvement or that's going to help this team, go get him. If you feel that there's a safety out there that can help this team, go get him. I don't think this team's going to add a wide receiver, but maybe there's a 3 or 4 wide receiver that you like the upside for. Go get them. The same old, we need to play the kids if we're going to be bad. Jets look like the Lions 4 years ago, at least 2 of the first 3 games. I think that's Earth. You bring up a good point. And I think this is something that is going to be talked about. I think one of the defenses that's going to be made is, well, the Lions looked terrible the first year. Well, the Lions were in every game. The Lions were feisty. The Lions fought their asses off for 4 quarters. And look, I liked how the Jets finished this game. But for 3 quarters, they were a bad team. Let's face it, for 7 consecutive quarters, this Jet team, they were outscored 50-16. They did not look like they belonged on the field with either of those 2 teams. And look, the ending today, it's one of those weird things where, and I go back to the first Adam Gase season, is sometimes you have to look at the picture as a whole. What always irked me with Adam Gase, and I felt Adam Gase was a bad hire from the beginning. I would have fired him after the first season. But the reason the Jets didn't do that is because the Jets that season, they started horrendously, but they somehow finished 6-2 down the stretch. They somehow were like, you know what? We put a cherry on this, poop-flavored ice cream of a season. So at least it's a decent end and a nice taste to the end of the season. But, I mean, look, if the Jets come out and play like they did in the fourth quarter today against Miami, they get a win. Like, that's the big thing. Miami is a true turning point of this season. And I agree that you have to keep building. And I understand. And I'm one of those people, I say, preach patience. I understand Jets fans' comments. We've been patient enough. I get it. But this is a bad team. And I understand that they have a lot of moving pieces to still add to this football team. But Miami is a bad football team. Miami is one of those ones where you can look at the coach and going, okay, they should not be outcoached by Miami. Miami is a team that looks like they are falling apart. They already had a players-only meeting. They are a team that is in free fall. If you can beat a team like that, win in the AFC East, and come out 1-3, at least I think your fan base is like, okay, we finally got that first win out of the way. We finally got a W. We beat a division opponent. We beat a rival. I think it will just take so much pressure. But if this team falls to 0-4 against a bad Miami team and is embarrassed in prime time and is a laughingstock on national TV, where this team since 2015 has been 8-19 in prime time. And I asked a fun experiment earlier. I said, look, and I agree, if they lose, the Dolphins season's over. Like, they're going to lose a lot this year. I get it. They're going to probably lose double-digit games this year. I get it. They're going to lose games and be blown out by better teams. I get it. But of the teams on this schedule that you look as beatable, as games that this team should win, as teams that the Jets could beat, this is one of those teams. You want to make a statement, Aaron Glenn. You go win that game. Because you got to go win that game. That's plain simple. We'll have a preview for Miami on Friday as well. Again, we're also going to do a giant breakdown tomorrow about New York Giants. I'll have Wick's picks on for that to do a breakdown of the Giants and Chiefs games tonight. And look, I still think realistically, if you were to ask me today, is this what you expected? I expect this team to probably be a 1-3 team or a 0-3 to start the season. That I did expect. So, and I think if Jeff Vince, you're honest, you felt you were going to be 0-3 too. But the big difference is that this Jet team now has to go out and prove that they are different. Aaron Glenn, you have a golden opportunity for you. And again, final call for questions, comments, super chat on the front of the line. If you want to get into some great ideas, pitching a 3-4 scheme, I like that idea. I think that the Jets have a better personnel to run that. I think you saw some glimpses of 3-4 fronts today. Would like to see that going forward. I'll have my final thoughts in a minute, but final rounds of questions coming in. Again, Jets falling to the Bucs 29-27. We're down at one point in this game, 20-6. We're able to come back with 2 Tyrod Taylor touchdowns late in this game. Blocked field goal by Will McDonald and Preston leaping over the line, created 27-26 game, although everyone looked at the clock with 1:30 like, yeah, they're getting in a field goal range. That's another thing I think that the NFL needs to change is with the kickoff rules is now, again, they had the return on it, but one thing I hate now is like if you kick it in the end zone, you get the 30. Like I still think you got to go back to the 20, maybe 25 at the most in the end zone. But if teams are getting the ball at the 30, it's like now they don't, with the way kickers are now, they don't have to go 30 yards. That's like nothing. That's like nothing. All right. Final thoughts today. And again, super chat on the front of the line. Like and subscribe if you missed us during the live stream. Make sure to comment below and check us out wherever podcasts are available. This is a frustrating loss. Did the Jets have a nice showing at the end of this game? Yes. But there's still a lot of concerns with this game. I thought the coaching needs to be better. Offensive play calling has to be better. Defense has to be better. Aaron Glenn has to be better. But in the reality, did I expect more than 0-3 to start the season? No, I really predicted this. My biggest thing was to come out of the first quarter 1-3, and they still have an opportunity. And this is the biggest thing for me. This was a frustrating game for Jet fans. And again, the tease at the end, while it was great for a little bit, was frustrating. The Jets fan base is at a critical point because I do think this team, the basic thing is this fan base generally understands that this is a rebuilding year. And they just want to see a competitive team and a team that doesn't look like they're not ready to play for 3 quarters like they did today. This, to me, is a crucial turning point in the season. And I'll talk more about it on Friday when I do my Miami preview. But this is what I said earlier in the show, and I'll wrap up with this. This, to me, is a turning point for the Jets this season and this fan base. Because this is a Monday night primetime game in front of the nation against Miami. Miami has been the butt of jokes all season. They've been the team that everyone in the national media has made fun of because of the coaching, McDaniel's press conferences, to how bad this team has looked. They're a bad football team. They have a coach that might not make it to Thanksgiving in terms of employment. This is an opportunity for the Jets to help put a nail in that coffin. And this is an important game because for Jet fans, prime time has been a nightmare for us. Let's be honest. I did this earlier in the show, and I'll give you another opportunity. When I ask you to think of the best primetime moments of the last 15 years, what comes to mind? Best primetime games. I can only really think of one, and that was Sam Darnold's debut. However, when I ask you to think of horror moments, 5 or 6 instantly pop in your head. Simeon breaking his leg against the Browns. The punt thing with Belichick trolling the Jets. The seeing ghost game with Sam Darnold. Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles, even though the Jets won that game. The Jets in prime time since 2015 been 8-19. And why prime time is frustrating for Jet fans is because you get embarrassed on a national stage primarily over the last couple of years. And then you get to hear the national media talk about same old Jets, how embarrassing the Jets are, how lackluster the Jets are as a franchise. Go in there and shut them up. If Aaron Glenn wants to make a statement to this fan base, you go into Miami. And I'm not saying you pummel the Dolphins, but you get out of there with a win. You show you can close a game. You show you can get a win in the win column. You have the Jets not being in last place in the AFC East after the first quarter of the season. You win a division rivalry on the road in the AFC. You go against a team that is floundering, a team that is primed for an opportunity to be floundered. And again, this is a great opportunity for the Jets. If the Jets go into Miami and come out to win, this fan base will feel good about this team. They'll feel like, okay, they have the coach that can at least get them a win. They feel like at least there's some momentum that they can build on going down the stretch of this season. However, if this team loses in Miami and they are 0-4, I know what is going to happen to this fan base. Many of them are going to check out. They'll say, let me know at the end of the season. I'll check in. I'll check the box scores. I'll check to see how this team's doing. But primarily, I'm checking draft boards. I'm checking college football. I'm looking at quarterbacks for the next draft. And look, I'm probably going to be talking about the quarterbacks like I do on this channel all the time in October as well, because we do a lot of draft content on this channel. So if you like draft content, make sure to like and subscribe. But if they are 0-4 and they lose to Miami, who has had player-only meetings, who have had a disaster of a coaching staff this season, who has a coach that's basically on the hot seat right now and might not make it through the season. I know it's in Miami, but if the Jets lose that game, and if they get embarrassed in primetime, you know that this fan base is not only going to check on the season, but they are going to say, you know what, it's going to take a lot for Aaron Glenn to show me. You know what, even if Aaron Glenn and this team butted up and go 5-3 down the stretch, we're not going to believe it because of what happened with Adam Gase. We've been fooled before. And this fan base, I think, is like, okay, you can talk about moral victories. You can talk about the improvement of this roster. You can talk about building a program here. That's all great. Tell us when we're winning. Because we've heard this before. We've heard through countless regimes. Give us time. Be patient. We know what we're doing. But unfortunately for Jet fans, we've been burned too many times with that. And unfortunately, I think if the Jets lose in Miami, I think fans are going to say, just let me know when the season ends. Let me know when our draft pick is. Let's talk draft, and let's talk about what pieces we're playing. Because I know what's going to happen after Miami. Everyone's going to come on here upset, and we'll be live after the Miami game. And we'll be already talking. Who are the Jets trade the trade deadline? Who are the Jets taking in the first round of the quarterback? Are the Jets going to tank for the number 1 pick? You know that's all going to be on the table. So this is, to me, a huge turning point coming against Miami. And we'll talk about it on Friday. So make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss that live stream. But again, the Jets fall to the Buccaneers 29-27. The Jets had an opportunity to close out this game and unfortunately could not. Again, thank you everyone for joining us here today. Always appreciate the love and support on this channel. Again, you guys with so many great questions, some great proposals, 3-4 defensive, player personnel. Love the energy you guys bring. So again, like and subscribe because we also want to get as many great Jet fans on this channel as possible. And if you missed us and you want to take us on the go, we are available wherever podcasts are available. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this episode of Rich Sports Talk. We'll see you later this week to talk Miami. We'll be back tomorrow to recap Giants and Chiefs. And, of course, we'll be live after Miami's game next Monday. Until then, we will see you later here on Rich Sports Talk.